What's up, .NET developers? Do you build backend APIs that are consumed by single-page applications or SPAs written in JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React, Vue? Well, you're going to want to check out this video because we're going to go over the new SPA templates that are coming out in .NET right here on Learning .NET and C# with Isaac. Hey folks, Isaac Levin here with another edition of What's New in .NET and C#, where we're going over all sorts of cool .NET and C# stuff with .NET 8 and C# 12 coming out in November of 2023 at .NET Conf. And if you've been following the videos here, be sure to do a couple of things for me. Comment down below, let me know if you like the video and what else you'd like to see. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and share with your friends so they can do the same. And for this particular video, I want to take a little bit of a different turn. So we've talked a lot about what's coming out in things like Blazor and Web API and things like that in the ASP.NET space. But there's some other development that we have that we might do as .NET developers. So what if we're building like a backend API and we're using a SPA template? So using a JavaScript framework like Angular, React, Vue as the front end that hits our APIs. Well, if you have done this before, you know that there are some challenges trying to get these two things to work at the same time. Like you might have VS Code open with all of your JavaScript application stuff in there, and then you might have Visual Studio running your Web API, or JetBrains Writer running your API, or what have you, right? And I wanted to show some enhancements and some new functionality that's been brought to Visual Studio tooling, as well as templates to make this experience a bit better. So let me just hop over to my screen really quick. And I'm inside of Visual Studio here, and what I want to do is I want to just wire up an experience using some new templates that have been created by the Visual Studio and .NET team partnering together to make SPA development with ASP.NET Core hosted backends a bit more seamless. So what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go to New Project, and there are 3 new templates actually that have been created, and they have the preview label on them. So those are Angular and ASP.NET Core for a preview, React, and Vue. So the 3 primary SPA frameworks that we use. And you might be familiar, like, hey, these templates have existed for a bit, but now they're actually wired up to have an API backend using a new project format. And we'll actually take a look at that. So let's just go to the Vue one. So let's just open up Vue, and let's just create this a Vue app in the temp folder. And let's just create a new folder and click create. And let's actually take a look at what this experience is. So what this is actually going to do is it's going to actually spin up a solution that has 2 projects. So those 2 projects are going to be our backend server project, which is going to be using minimal API, as well as our Vue app. So if we take a look, let's just take a look at our server project, which, as you can see, is a .NET AI application. And we're referencing this. Let me just zoom in here. Oops. Zoom in here. We're referencing this and let's just zoom in here, and we're referencing this Vue app 1 client.esproj. So if you haven't seen this before, it's because there's a new project type that comes in Visual Studio, and we can actually take a look at what that looks like as well. So if you open this up, it just gives you some different configuration mechanisms to configure build and start commands and things like that, and there's a ton of extensibility for that as well. If we look at our server really quick before we look at the JavaScript code, as you can see, it's a simple minimal API that returns like the canonical weather forecast. Like we've seen this sample a bunch of times in the videos, and it's in the templates also. So the big thing that comes in with this is there is a proxy configuration, basically that's set up to configure your front end and your back end, so you don't have to carry around ports and things like that. And this is actually a great development experience. For Vue, it uses Vite, and also for the React template as well, it uses Vite. And for the Angular one, it uses Angular proxies. So we'll take a look at what those look like in a second. But from a Vite configuration standpoint, the big thing that we care about, it handles all the certificates for us, but if we scroll down here and we take a look, we have the server proxy, which we're specifying a weather forecast, we're specifying the URL, the target for API, and then we're specifying the port of our application that we're going to run under. And no additional things. It'll ask us if we want to set up linting. I don't want to do that for this moment. But if I just click start, what this will actually do is it's going to spin up a Vite server, which connects all of those tissues together. And it's also going to run our application using Vite. And then it's going to run our ASP.NET Core application as well. This does take a second because we've got to do like an npm install in this particular case. So when it pops open, we'll hop back to the video. Let me move some stuff over from other screens. So as you can see here, this is my server. So this is, I'm using Swagger to define the API. And there's also a couple of additional command console apps or consoles that get opened up. So that's running the server. So as you can see, we have a particular porch running, and then we have Vite, which is running as well. And then if we go over here, this is finally our Vue app. Right? So for instance, we could modify this and then do another build and run, it would work. So this is all working inside of Visual Studio. So you can get breakpoints in here as well on the JavaScript side, and it's pretty cool. So that's just like setting up Vue. But let's actually take a look at what it looks like if you want to run React and Angular as well. So I actually have a project. Let me just close out of all these. Project that I created. I highly recommend not doing this, but I have all three different JavaScript frameworks running using the same backend server. So as you can see here, I have an Angular, let me just zoom in. I have an Angular app, I have a React app, and I have a Vue app. And all of them are running at different ports. They're all using the same backend server, the backend API to fetch weather data, and they're all doing different things. So two of them are going to be using Vite, and the other one is going to be using Angular. So let's actually just take a look. We've looked at the Vue one. Let's just look at the structure for the React and Angular app. So if you've built React apps before, so you have the opportunity to use JavaScript as well as TypeScript, you can do that for Vue and Angular as well. I'm using the TypeScript variety of React here. The biggest thing here, as you can see, similar things here. So it's the certificate, as well as just defining the process data. And then as you can see as well, we have a Vite instance that runs and does all that great stuff. And then the template is going to look very similar. It's a weather app that shows just a table of data. And if we look at our Angular app, the only primary difference is it's using the ASP.NET Core-HTTPS to define, this is how it defines the certificate. And then if you look at our proxy, the proxy is defined as we have our context and our target, and it's making sure that it's a secure channel. So if I run this, this will pop open four different command lines actually, and then 4 additional browsers. So once all this is done and served, I'll bring them over. So this is the Angular one that comes over. Just move this Angular one over here. So that's using Angular. Oops. All right, so that's using Angular. And where is the one for the others? Like I have 1,000 windows that are opening. This is my server. So this is the server running. And finally, we have all these apps running. So if I scroll over here, that's my Vue app. And then I have an Angular app. And then finally, I have a React app. So as you can see, the styling isn't ideal, but it shows you that you can have a situation inside of Visual Studio where you are running 3 different JavaScript applications, one Angular, one React, one Vue, and one backend API, and they're all using the same API, which is really awesome. And just to make sure that I'm showing you actually what's happening, let's just make a subtle change to our backend API and see what happens when all that trickles down to our applications. So if I go into, I'm going to go into our server, and I'm going to make a small change to the data that's coming back here. So I want to, instead of having it say freezing, bracing, chilly, I'm just going to remove almost all of these. And I'm just going to have one that says hot and one that says cold. Make that change, and I'm going to stop my app, and then I'm going to start it again. And hopefully what this should do is it'll show me the changes that I just made. So hot and cold on the React side, hot and cold, and then on the Angular, hot and cold. So it shows that this actually works in practice. So it's not just me fudging some stuff up. So it is an interesting scenario where you could theoretically inside of Visual Studio build JavaScript apps and their backend APIs together and test them using like actual JavaScript methodologies and different SPA methodologies to be able to do these things. So things like you're not just throwing in and having like a bunch of npm scripts running behind the scenes. You're actually using things like Vite, which are kind of like de facto standards for doing some of these local development things. So that's what I wanted to show, and I think that regardless of what kind of .NET developer you are, whether you're building front ends written in C#, like we've talked about Blazor, or if you're writing .NET APIs that are being used by SPAs, like you can use their latest versions of .NET 8 specifically, to really do some interesting things. And that's it for me. I hope you liked this video. Be sure to comment down below if you liked it, or if there's other things that you'd like to see, and subscribe to my channel and share. And that's it for me today. I hope that you have a great day. Take care.